Good.
Julie graduated from BYU-I in behavioral science and from the University of Utah in human development and family studies. She's been married for 17 years, so she's better to listen to than I am. She's also the mother of 3 children. Although mothering is her first priority, she also works part-time for Alpine School District. Her speech today is titled, Moms and Dads Both Matter. Let's welcome Julie Gatica.
Thank you. Okay, well, some of the things what I'm going to say today, actually, some people in the past have been fired for it, so I'm hoping you guys don't fire me, okay? So, you are all unique, just like everyone else. We are all unique. We are all a product of a mother and a father, and a unique combination. This is the natural law. If you took away a mother, you couldn't exist. If you took away a father, you couldn't exist. You needed both in order to exist. We all did. For many years, and for a lot of history, legal law supported this idea that all of humanity, society comes through this union of a mother and father. Until relatively recently, when the U.S. Supreme Court decided that it was a constitutional right, marriage was a constitutional right. So sorry for all you singles out there. So the U.S. Supreme Court, this was against the Constitution, checks and balances, the vote, and the natural law. Some of the justices, like the late Justice Antonin Scalia, did not approve of this, and he saw that there was no mention in the Constitution about marriage, and that basically making a decree anyway, despite that, was kind of like the taxation without representation. And I don't think he or other people like me or other people who oppose same-sex marriage are homophobic, as some may say. In fact, for myself, growing up, I had a good friend who ended up having homosexual preferences, and he used to be teased sometimes in school by people because he had feminine mannerisms, and I would stand up for him and I would tell him to knock it off. And also, when I was single, I used to work in a shopping mall, and with a coworker who also had homosexual preferences, and we would check out guys together. So we had fun, and I had no problem with that. Another sometimes assumption when someone says they're against or same-sex marriage or for marriage between a man and a woman is that they assume they're a religious bigot. But as you can see in this speech, I don't mention really religion as my reasoning. And I don't consider myself a bigot because I can see different perspectives, even the other ones that I don't agree with. For example, I can understand that homosexual couples may want, like my cousin, she's been with someone for 10 years, and if she were to go to the hospital, her girlfriend would want to be able to see her, and that's understandable. But there's definitely contracts that can be written up, and with doctors and everything that can handle that. There's even cohabitation agreements, things. They don't need to necessarily change all of the laws regarding marriage in order to have those rights met. My main issue is defending children's rights so that they are not legally denied a mother and father. So basically, same-sex marriage is saying that moms and dads are not really important, that it's okay if you have 2 moms, dads are not really essential, or it's okay if you have 2 dads, moms are not really essential. But really, we know that both mothers and fathers are important, not only for our existence, but also to be raised in the most optimum ways. Glenn T. Stanton wrote extensively about how mothers and fathers differ in how they parent. Mothers are a little bit more about encouraging security, and fathers tend to push the limits. And he gave a lot of examples of how they're different, but they both contribute in a way that helps the child have a balance, that they really need that. They need both. A UCLA study concluded that basically mothers are more active than fathers in helping children with certain problems, like personal problems, but when it comes to other things like drug use, fathers were more important in that study. And then David Popenoe wrote a book called Life After Father, compelling new evidence that fatherhood and marriage are indispensable for the good of children. And he basically said that if we continue down a road of fatherlessness, we're headed for social disaster. Just as we need a mother and father to exist, we need both to be able to thrive, and children need both. Of course, there are times where, like my brother, he's a single parent, And his wife had died, and then he remarried, and then they divorced. So that happens sometimes. So I think in those situations, I think that a lot of times single parents they still acknowledge the need for a mother or father figure if they can't provide it. So they look to aunts or uncles or grandparents to help them and their kids. Although same-sex marriage was recently decreed into law, for a long time, homosexual couples have been raising kids, and research has shown the effects. According to data from a study led at University of Texas at Austin, children raised by homosexual parents are dramatically more likely than peers raised by married heterosexual parents to suffer from a host of social problems. Last year, a group of adults, each raised by homosexual couples, spoke out against gay marriage in federal court. Each gave testimony about why they believed children should not be denied one or the other, as they were denied. They also, some of them spoke about the dysfunctional lifestyles their parents modeled. Katie Faust, who grew up with a lesbian mother, and her partner also testified against same-sex marriage, but clarified, "My advocacy against gay marriage and for the rights of children will never include condemnation of my mother and her partner or details of their private lives. But still, when we institutionalize same-sex marriage, we move from permitting citizens the freedom to live as they choose to promoting a same-sex headed households. In doing so, we ignore the true nature of the outcropping of marriage. Now we're normalizing a family structure where a child will always be deprived of one gender influence and the relationship with at least one natural parent." She explained, "Our cultural narrative becomes one that, in essence, tells children that they have no right to a natural family structure or their biological parents, but that children exist for the satisfaction of adult desires." So again, both mothers and fathers are really important. We need them both to exist, and then also in order to thrive. Our children need them. And so I hope you keep this in mind as far as when you consider politics and laws, and as well as in your own lives.